I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 at 7 p.m. here at the Star City Hall. Can you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. And tonight's invocation is by Bishop Scott Snelders for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful, Father, for this evening, for the opportunity we have to be here in the City Council meeting, and for the protection of this great city and this state. We pray, Father, for thy guidance in this meeting, and thou might bless us with thy abundant love and support. We pray, Father, for those that are serving this city and ask you to bless them and be with them. And we pray for the citizens of this city, and that they might show an abundance of kindness to each other and support for each other. We pray, Father, that we might continue to grow and expand and support those that are in this community. We're grateful, Father, for this country and for the founders of this great nation. We pray that we might continue to uphold the freedoms which they bestowed upon us, and that we might always remember, in God we trust. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop. Okay, roll call.
Councilman Hershey.
Here.
Councilman Hershey's just so everybody's aware, Councilman Hershey's participating online. He got called out to another fire this last week. So,
Councilman Wheelock.
Here.
Councilwoman Salmonson. Here. Councilman Nielsen.
Present.
all right, everybody's present. And folks, you just heard Miss Shelley Tilton. She's our new city clerk we appointed last city council meeting. So this is her. So just welcome her to the great city of Star. All right. We're going to move on to item 4, presentations. Chief, start with yours.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, Chief Zach Hessing, Star Police Department. Grateful for the opportunity to present the September report this evening to you. So to go through, there's been a change here that we'll kind of discuss a little bit as you see underneath the police activity there. But to start out, the offenses reported so far year to date is 195 as of end of September. We had for the month of September, we had 12 person crimes, 6 property crimes, and 7 society crimes. And the little box on the right side there kind of describes what those crimes are. And anybody can look online underneath the city website and find this same exact report and go through it. If they have any questions, they always reach out, and we're happy to answer those too of what crimes we're seeing. The police activity report. So dispatch had ended up making a change of how they're reporting the different calls that we go to as police. So part of the concern we have is it's harder now to separate out the citizens call for service and proactive policing calls. We are looking, I talked to data analytics team today to make sure that we can continue doing that, because that's one thing I really pay attention to see how proactive we're being. They're looking for a fix for that change, but as you can see there with a new little box, it says due to a dispatch process change. That box kind of explains a little bit, but for total calls for service and proactive policing calls is 1,920 for September. We usually have 300 to 400 calls for service, so I'm assuming about 1,400 calls of proactive police calls that we've gone to for the month of September. But again, I'm hoping they have a fix where they can fix that, because I like to see what the ratio is from how often we do our own proactive policing and when we're called to an area to investigate what's going on. So the crash response, there's the only thing that underneath the select call types that I kind of cued in on that was a big change. We had 38 crash responses in the month of September, so quite a few collisions. I don't know if that has to do with somewhat of the start of school and different things. I do know driving to Owyhee every morning, I do see just this morning there was a fender bender there on Star Road and McDermott there. So I'd imagine that's some of it. Number of arrests we had was a total of 12 arrests for September, 3 of those being a DUI arrest. 17% of those arrests were drug charge arrests. And total citations for the month of September is 36 infractions and 12 misdemeanors. And we had 1 mental health hold case. In our code 3 response times, I had concern because in the city of Star, we responded to 5 calls or code 3 calls. That means we're running, it's emergency call, we're running lights and siren to get to where we're going. Well, our goal as a city of Star is under 4 minutes. As you can see, we didn't meet that goal in September at 5 minutes and 29 seconds. So I dug deeper into it, and what it was is one of the calls that we got called to as a code 3 call was a rolling domestic, which means there was a domestic happening in a car and they were driving around. So it took us a while to find them, and that's what added to our response time to that particular call. The rest of them was quite less, but that hurt our ratio of how fast we can respond. So that was the concern there, but we do see that it's ticking up a little bit every month in the last 2 to 3 months. So the other outside of City of Star, we had 11 total of those and 3 minutes and 4 seconds. 7 of those had to do with crash responses that were on Highway 16 and 44. That's just outside the city limits of Star. And so we are pretty quick to respond to those. We also had a couple of water rescues we had to go to and some code 3 attempted suicide calls that were just outside the city limits of Star that they responded to. So that's the September report. Is there any questions about the report that Mayor, City Council have?
Any questions for Chief?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
Yeah, Chief, thanks for this, as always. I'm just curious on, that code 3 response time. I know that's a really important metric for you. And I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but, something like you described that is a real outlier in the data. I wonder if there's a way that you could exclude that from the report so that you see, that's a tricky phone you got there, Chuck. You sneeze and it rings. Wow. Anyway, I did wonder if you could exclude that data point so that we can see the true average and then have an explainable variance on something like that.
Yeah,
Just
that's
an
a
idea.
good idea. I can pull that out and find out exactly what it would be if we removed that 1 call. That's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Councilman Hershey, you have a question at all?
No, I'm just grateful we have the police force we do and the leader in charge of it.
All right. Wow, good. Thanks.
Easy enough.
Appreciate it, Chief. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, we're not going to have the fire chief presentation tonight, but are we going to have a sports and rec?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thanks again for the time. You don't have a presentation in your packet because I don't have one in there, but I wanted to have just a quick conversation about one of the issues that is that we're facing and the help that we need from you. So as you know, we utilize all of the West Ada School District sites. We utilize the middle school and the elementary school, and we utilize their gyms, amongst other things. And in those gyms, we use them for basketball and volleyball and futsal and several other opportunities to get the youth and adults playing. Recently, we received notification from the school district that we were going to need to start paying for that space. The mayor made a phone call to Dr. Bubb, and we worked out a few things to where we are not going to have to start paying right now for that space. And just so you know what we're talking about, basically it was $100 an hour. So for just the middle school, for the 4th quarter, the bill was $19,000. So our goal of being able to provide affordable opportunities for the youth of this community would have been blown out of the water should we have to raise our fees in order to cover not only our expenses, but the fee of renting. So as we look to the future, as we meet with developers and as we look at the city, it's time to start planning for an indoor facility. Because if the school district were to come to us and take that opportunity away from us, it severely limits what we're able to do for the youth of the community. So that is my report this month, and my ask is that we start having those conversations and we start putting together the thoughts and the plans for the future on what we're going to do to have indoor facilities, should we lose the ones we currently have. So that is my report. Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, could we go over that number again? Was that 19,000 or 1,900?
19,000 for the fourth quarter, just for the middle school.
Is that per man hour playing?
So that's just how many, we are in there pretty much 6 days a week. So with our activities, we're there Monday through Saturday, with practices and games. And that's only for the small gym at the middle school. The large gym is being rented out on their rental software that they use, and it's full constantly. So we have the auxiliary gym at the middle school right now, but $100 an hour. Yes, $19,000 for the fourth quarter just for that location.
And we do have plans that we've had drawn up, not detailed. It's going to take some funds, angel donor, looking at the development community over there, to help build something like this for our community. So we're going to have to, I mean, it's going to take a lot for us to get something like that done. We do have a place for one. We do have some plans that we put together. I think it was 2018 for it. So that's something that we can, I mean, obviously it's going to take a while to get that done. It's not going to be an overnight deal, but something we can work on. So, and it's something that's being looked at also with our impact fee updates that we're doing as well. So everybody's aware. So cool. Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, further questions?
Mayor Chadwick,
Yes, sir.
at 19,000 per quarter for that one location, sounds like we have things mitigated for now, but what are we looking at? I mean, how long is this mitigation? Is it for the budget year? Or are we going to have to, find some other solution? What's the plan?
That's a great question. The mayor had the conversation with Dr. Bubb. There is a contract that we can enter into with the school district, where as a municipality, we won't have to pay those fees. I'm not aware, Mayor, if you guys talked about timeline. We're still in the process of dealing with that contract. My biggest concern, or I guess my biggest fear, what keeps me up at night, is that regardless if we get a contract in place, if the supplemental levies that continue to fail and these other items of school funding aren't taken care of, and they truly need those funds, they will rent them out to others who can afford to pay those things. And so our backup right now we just wouldn't have, there's no indoor. We wouldn't have indoor athletics or opportunities for the youth of our community.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further
Okay.
questions for Ryan?
All right.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, moving on to item 4D, the Star Pathway Master Plan update by Kimley Horn. Looks like Mr. John is here for backup.
Thank you, Sean. Got it. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and the City Council. Tim Nicholson with Kimley Horn, 1100 West Idaho Street, Suite 210 in Boise. Here to present to you tonight an overview of the Star Pathways Master Plan project that we've been working on in conjunction with your Transportation and Pathway Committee and with city staff. A little bit about our team here. Fantastic team has been assembled. Really appreciate all of the support from Mayor, from Councilwoman Simonson, and all the members of the Transportation Committee. Again, you can see our consultant team list over there too. I want to also state that Logan Simpson has been a fantastic addition to our team as a sub-consultant. They've been helping us out with a lot of the field reconnaissance that was done early on and a lot of the GIS mapping. A little bit of how we got to where we're at right now. We had a project kickoff back in February. We did a lot of that field reconnaissance in March, where we were looking at the existing pathways that are here for the city and working closely with staff to be able to obtain other documents that were pertinent to the development of this plan. Also, we looked a lot at what was out there from other partner agencies adjacent to the city of Star. Talk a little bit about that here in a second. We first started our main public engagement in July, which involved 2 open houses, a presentation on the city website, social media outreach, newsletter, and there was also a booth at your 4th of July event. So significant amount of engagement, some pretty good feedback started coming in at that point. We then spent most of August developing the plan, the draft plan, and putting that all together, to which we presented to city staff and the TPC, did a thorough review, made initial comments, gave us some fantastic feedback on all the mapping and all of the draft documents that we presented. We took all of that and made the corrections, made the additions and deletions that were requested, talked through some of the concerns that were out there, and then refine that draft to be able to put it out for public engagement, which is open right now. It opened on October 1st. It's open through the 25th of October for any citizen, including anybody on the council, anybody in the room, to be able to offer their suggestions and ideas and input. Again, lots of outreach throughout the month of October. It was in the Star Courier, in the Star Spirit magazine. We had, I think there was a QR code and a little presentation at the chili cook-off that was a couple weekends ago as well. Social media, of course, and on the city's website. And we're here today for this work session with you all, so that way you can be prepared for what's coming up in November, which is the adoption on the 19th of November at a future meeting. So these are actual pages that you'll find in the draft plan right now. You know, what we did first was, like I said, we evaluated and documented all of the existing pathway network. That was boots on the ground. So actually had field representatives go out, walk all of this, and use GIS mapping to document all of that. We then, like I said, compiled and reviewed a lot of the existing city documents, as well as adjacent jurisdiction plans, including ACHD, Eagle, Boise, Middleton, Meridian, and Ada County. And you might ask, why Boise? They're not truly adjacent, but they have a very developed existing pathway network. They have a lot of good planning documents, and we reviewed a lot of that to use that as a good go-by. And not using that truly as the standard, but using it as an opportunity for us to see what's worked for them and what maybe isn't working or wouldn't work for the city of Star. And then, like I said, we went out and did a lot of public engagement. We got a fair amount of feedback at our open houses. We've gotten more great input from the public via online surveys as well. The online or the in-person open houses were conducted here within the city. We had 2 different ones, as I had mentioned, and these were mainly to spark interest and help generate feedback in the process. The next thing we did was to look at classifying the pathways, right? With help from the TPC and staff, we developed typical sections and pathway classifications to include width, to include finished surface type, to include landscaping possibilities, as well as any potential amenities that could go in with the pathways. When I say amenities, I mean wayfinding, signage, trash cans, pet waste stations, shade structures, and trailheads and parking, to name just a few. And, you know, this was all about finding out what was important to the public. So we had a little exercise. It was kind of interesting where they got a prescribed amount of dollars that they could vote with their dollars on what was important to them. And they had $100 and they can say, you know, trash cans are very important to me, so I'm going to put $80 on that. And shade structures are really important to me, so I'm going to put $20 on that. And then we kind of use that because, the reality of it is if you don't give somebody a budget, they want it all, right? And that's not feasible within the city's budget or any jurisdiction's budget to be able to dedicate those kinds of resources. So we tried to put some sideboards on it to allow them to really hone in on what's most important to them. We then developed the maps and the future pathway network, and looked closely at what is out there today to be able to determine where do you want this to go in the future, right? We needed to assign value to what's there, the condition of what's there, and then also look at what connections are coming in from some of those partner agencies. What's Middleton doing? Where do they plan to have connections to you all? How can you connect in the foothills with Ada County? How do you connect over to Meridian's pathways and Eagle's pathways adjacent to you? Bless you, sir. Yeah. We also established and documented maintenance guidelines and various levels of service for the maintenance of these future pathways and the existing pathways that you have, and determined the future rough order magnitude maintenance costs per mile, depending on the type of pathway that ends up getting selected. Because obviously gravel pathways don't require quite as much maintenance as an asphalt pathway would. So knowing these future dollars are going to be something that the city's going to have to account for, what does that look like for you in the long term? So that's all part of the plan. And then it all kind of culminates with this CIP, capital improvement plan, that kind of determines what your short, medium, and long-term rankings would be for the projects, right? And assigns dollars based on trail classifications, length of pathway, amenities that are selected. So that way you can dovetail this CIP with your impact fee program that's currently under development. Lastly, we looked at what are some potential funding strategies, right? This is not going to be something that comes overnight. It is not going to be something that the city has millions of dollars to be able to throw at it immediately. There's long range outlook on a lot of this, and how do we make this plan implementable, right? I mean, it's great to have a beautiful looking plan with lots of great ideas in it, but where the rubber meets the road is how do you all implement this, in those short term, medium term, and long term strategies to be able to actually pay for and support bringing this plan to life. So that's all a part of what our recommendations are, and everything from funding strategies such as using general funds, impact fees, donations, grants that are out there for you, and of course partnering with private development. So with that, this was, I think, what was presented at the chili cook-off the other day with this QR code. It's out there, like I said, in several different forms for public to be able to be involved in it. We have this open through the 25th, as I said. We've gotten 18 responses so far and counting. Would encourage you to get it out there to your constituents and let them know about it. So that way, the more input we get, the better we feel about the recommendations and hearing everybody who's going to be using this future pathways here within the city. So again, we'll be back with you on the 19th of November for an adoption hearing. And with that, thank you for the time, and I stand for any questions.
Any questions? Anybody?
Microphone. It looks like you've been very comprehensive, thorough in everything you've done, and we're grateful for your service and work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Jennifer.
Yeah, I will echo that. Thanks for coming tonight to give us a bit of a preview of what will be on the the November 19th meeting. I think that this plan is going to be a supplement of our comprehensive plan. So it's really important that we get everyone's, as many people's input as possible on this, because it's going to set hopefully the foundation of our pathway system in the future. So
Councilman Hershey, any comments or anything?
No, just echo thank you and looking forward to the 19th.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5, the consent agenda.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
I move that we approve the consent agenda consisting of item 5A, the approval of minutes for September 17th and October 1st, 2024, the approval of claims, and then item 5C, it needs to, it's a final plat, not the findings of fact. So change that, move to approve the final plat for Setting Sun Ranch subdivision, and 5D for the final plat of Cranefield subdivision phase 3.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Hershey,
Aye.
Councilman Wheelock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Aye.
Councilman Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, an action item for the Milestone Ranch Subdivision Development Agreement. I'm going to turn this over to Sean, I believe, right?
Mr. Mayor, you have before you and council, you have before you the amended and restated development agreement for Milestone Ranch and Milepost subdivision. What we're doing is we're merging those two development agreements into one development agreement for the entire project. So Milestone and Milepost. Those include your conditions of approval from the public hearings that were approved through the findings of facts. That is it.
Everybody understand that basically it's taking the two developments, creating one. It's going to be one HOA, I think is what I was told, correct? And whatnot for that project. Any questions of staff? Hearing none, I entertain a motion.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilwoman?
I move that we approve the restated development agreement for Milestone Ranch subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second that, Mayor.
All right, we'll do Councilman Hershey second in that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Hershey,
Aye.
Councilman Wheelock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Aye.
Councilman Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, it's public hearing with action items. 7A is the first public hearing tonight for Dowdy's Auto Repair Conditional Use Permit. Please, if you want to sign up to speak to these public hearings, you need to sign up on the sheets out back in the table. There is a process we go through, so for those that are not aware, I will open the public hearing and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication. The applicant has up to 20 minutes to present their project, and the timer will be up here. Correct, Ryan? Yes. We're going to do that timer up there, okay? The council can ask the applicant questions and staff questions. We're going to have public testimony for 3 minutes per person, then applicant rebuttal for 10 minutes. Additional questions could be asked, and I will close the public hearing after that. The council will then deliberate and either make a motion to approve of conditions, deny, or table the application to a date certain in the future. And at the very beginning of this, I think Sean's going to introduce the project as well. So with that said, I'm going to open the public hearing on this Dowdy's at 7:29 and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
None.
No.
Hearing none. Sean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. First public hearing before you this evening is for Dowdy's Automotive, conditional use permit 24-03. The applicant is requesting conditional use approval for an automotive repair facility. Development is located at 12645 West Norterra Lane. Property includes 0.8 acres and is located in the Norterra subdivision. All application requirements, including submittals to agencies, legal noticing, and site posting have all been completed in compliance with the Unified Development Code. The application has been reviewed for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan. Do not have any late exhibits. There are no items of special concern on this project. Staff is recommending approval of this application with conditions. Again, the location is the Norterra subdivision, which is on the corner of Canada Road and State Street. This is a copy of the site plan submitted by the applicant. A copy of the elevations for the building. That's all staff has. Thank you.
All right. Any questions of staff before we turn over to the applicant? Okay. All right. Please come up there, sir. State your name and address for the record. And the floor is yours.
Great. I'm Dakota Gullickson with Rocky Mountain Companies, 350 North and 9th, Suite 200 in Boise. First of all, just want to say thanks to Sean and Barbara for helping us get to this point. They've been amazing. All right, so we are presenting for the Dowdies in Star. We think this is going to be a great location for this particular user. They're rich in culture and definitely add value to the city all the cities that they've come to, and are pretty widespread across the Treasure Valley, and think that Star is their next great location. So obviously they want to make sure that they have holistic improvement, they have high quality service, they partner with the surrounding operations and provide a location to the underserved, quickly growing Star market. And asking the owner why he thinks that Star is the next big market for another auto body or another auto repair shop that does service. He said it's really strictly due to the population growth. There's been a significant boom over the last 3 years of 38% growth. I'm sure you're all aware of this. In 2000, which is crazy for me to think that I was a freshman in high school, the population of Star was 2,000, like just over 2,000 people. And now you guys are over 16,000 people. So the 38% growth over the last 3 years. So there's significant people wanting to move to Star. I think for good reasons. You guys are running your city very well and growing it in an exponential, very great way. So obviously they want to partner with the city. This is really an entrance corridor for the city, coming in on State Street, and they want to make sure that they bring a quality build with quality jobs. More on their culture in a little bit here. So some of these things have already been addressed by Sean. Location just west of Albertsons in the Norterra subdivision. A couple attributes here just to touch on. Mainly, the current zoning is central business district. We're not looking to change any zoning. The Star future land use is central business district. The surrounding zones, there is some residential to the north, really across Norterra, and all the other surrounding locations are central business district. We're just under an acre. Landscaped area is over 20%. Is what we proposed. Residentially needs 15%. I didn't see anything in the code there that required anything for commercial. So we definitely have more landscaped area than and typically there's 2 species required for trees. We've got 3 and 19 trees that we'll be adding. Sewer and water access are very accessible off of the private drive there. And parking will have 19 spaces plus the spaces within the bays. And building, we're looking at just over 5,000 square feet and 29'3" in height. And that's that peak that you'll see right there. Our site plan, you have great circulation through that private drive to the south and through Norterra, so that people that need to come get their cars worked on can access from both of those locations. Here's our conceptual elevations. We did switch some things up from what Dowdies does standard because we wanted to pretty up the building. So we're using stucco, some great canopies, great architectural features, and divisions between the commercial space and then the space where the people are going to be entering and exiting the building. All right, so existing versus future. You've got bare land out there now. This is a Dowdies in Meridian. give you a little perspective on what they look like and the quality of a building that they bring, especially for an auto service shop. Want to address the CUP determinations that are in there in the staff report. All of those, you probably have read this, but all of them were in compliance with what is proposed. So is the site large enough? Yeah, it's absolutely large enough to fit this auto repair shop on there. I already addressed this, but we're not changing anything to the zone. I did want to bring up, I loved looking through Dowdy's website and getting these Google reviews. If you guys have some time, take 30 minutes and try to see if you can find a non-5-star review. I just kept clicking and clicking, and there was just hundreds, if not thousands, of reviews that were solid from men, women, and there might have even been an adult that seemed like a child that posted on there as well. They have super clean insides, and they treat their buildings very well. This one just shows the surrounding roadways. We're planning on-site seepage beds, trash disposal. We've worked through with the city on this in our pre-app, made some adjustments to make sure the drive aisles were big enough for fire department and that all the public facilities and services are easily accessible on the site. There's no intention or any reason for us to think that there's going to be excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glares, odors, things like that. Their hours are actually from 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. So there's not going to be any after hours issues there either. They have 6 completed in the Treasure Valley. We've got 1 in development at this point, and that's this one in Star. Some of their core values and their mission statements, they're all really driven around honesty, integrity, and quality. They're a locally owned, family-owned business. Have been in business since 1986, and the brothers actually grew up in Idaho. The services that they render, there's so many that the list would be too long, but they're known for very quick in and out services. I can't tell you how many reviews I saw that people had an issue with their vehicle, brought it in, and expected it to be there for a week, and it was in and out within a day. Stand for any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? I do want to ask one question. I couldn't see it on the drawings, and maybe I'm blind, but did we address the fire hydrant thing for the fire department from some earlier meetings?
Yeah, Victor had brought that up, that we needed one, and so we have one placed at the south end of the site.
Okay.
Which is there away.
Oh, I see it right now.
It's right there.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about cleaning it up for basketball in the evenings, apparently?
Yeah. You throw a basketball hoop in there.
Put some hoops on the inside just in case.
Can't say
We
I
won't charge you guys $100 an hour.
Jennifer, you have a question?
Yeah, sure. So, for per code, and the square footage, so required to have 22 parking spaces. And, I believe on the outside you have 19. And then you have, you're including 4 parking spaces inside the building to get to that minimum, to the 22. Is that correct?
Yes, it depends on how you look at it. So there's 2 different sections of the code. One section of the code says that there's supposed to be 2 parking spots per service bay. Depends on if you were to put this under an automotive repair shop or an automotive service shop. So if it's automotive service, which is what we originally were going under, it was 2 per bay, so we would need 8. And then the new information we've received is 1 per 120 or 225, so we would need 22, 23 spots. And that's why in the staff report, they wrote up that there's 19 spots, and they're allowing us to count 4 spots in the bay to make sure that we get over that mark.
Okay. And so how long typically it's probably very difficult to say, but, our let's say 70% of the cars there overnight? Or do they usually, just one day and they're gone?
From my experience with these guys, they want all the cars off unless they have a person that's like, hey, can I drop my car off with you today and can I leave it overnight? They will make sure that it's taken care of. But all their services, they really push to get people their cars back same day so that they can continue to use them.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is just we have another auto repair across the street and they have a lot of parking too, but it is packed all the time and you cannot find a parking spot over there. And so just want to make sure that we have enough, parking for the cars that may be there a little bit longer and your new customers coming in.
Sure, that's a very valid concern. All the Dowdies that I've driven by have about the same amount of parking, and it seems like they always have space.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant at this time? Councilman Hershey, any questions? I'm gonna say no.
He's on mute.
Oh, he's on mute?
I don't know.
Or did he drop? Dana,
Maybe he's gone.
he did drop. Well, it doesn't mean he's out on the fire. All right, so we're gonna, on the sign up sheets here, we just had one that signed up in favor, Travis Stroud, with didn't want to speak, correct? All right, you want to close it out? Because there's.
You want me to
Any
say,
questions from the council? Any further questions?
I don't have any.
Do you want to say anything further?
great. Just thank you guys for having us out. Always a good time to come out to Star.
All right. With that said, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:42. And go to council deliberations.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
So no questions. I think the application on this is pretty straightforward. Staff report also seems straightforward. I feel like this would be a good addition to Star and like the applicant said, meet a growing need. So I'm in support, and at this point in time, unless you guys want further discussion, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Okay.
Nope, I'm satisfied as well.
Okay. So Mayor Chadwick, I'll go ahead and move that we approve the Dowdy's Auto Repair Conditional Use Permit CU-24-06 with conditions as stated in the staff report.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Hey, before we vote, Miss Dana, Hershey just sent me a note back and says he dropped and he needs to be panelist again. Okay, so then we'll move on to roll call vote.
Councilman Hershey,
Still coming.
Are you there?
Where Mayor Chadwick, where he missed part of this, should he abstain or?
That was my question. I had no concerns. Did
All
anyone
right.
bring an objection?
There was no objections from anybody.
All right, then I'm gonna vote.
Perfect.
Okay. You're
Okay.
first.
go ahead.
Oh,
Councilman Hershey,
Aye.
Councilman Wheelock,
Aye.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Aye.
Councilman Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. Welcome to Star. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna. Okay, going on to item 7B, the public hearing for the Addington subdivision preliminary plat modification. We have already had a preliminary plat approved and they're coming in for a slight modification, I believe, for this, right? So it is 7:44 and we are going to open this public hearing and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact communication on this project.
None.
No.
None.
Hearing none. Are you Ms. Tamara? Are you the one? Okay. The floor is yours, Ms. Tamara.
Do you want my report?
Oh, I'm sorry. The floor is not yours yet.
We used to do
You're
it
gonna go-
first.
I know, you're right. We'll go with Sean. Sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
You're the one that made me do this. Mr. Mayor and Council, the next public hearing you have before you is for the Addington subdivision preliminary plat modification, PP-22-02. The applicant, oops. Yeah. The applicant has submitted a request to, there we go. The applicant has submitted a request to modify the existing preliminary plat with 31 residential lots and 3 common lots. Council approved this preliminary plat with a private street with 34 residential lots. The development is located on the east side of North Highbrook Way, north of Albertsons. 5.58 acres, has an overall density of 5.5 dwelling units per acre. The original had 6.01 dwelling units per acre. The application requirements have all been met, including agency transmittals, legal noticing, and site posting. Its application has been reviewed for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan. You do not have any late exhibits or items for consideration. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. Again, the Addington subdivision is located north of State Street off of Highbrook, north of Albertsons. This is a copy of the original approved preliminary plat from April 19th of 2022. This is the proposed modification to that plat. That's all.
Okay. Any questions of staff at this time? All right, Ms. Tamara, sorry about that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Tamara Thompson. I'm with the Land Group. Our offices are at 462 East Shore Drive in Eagle. I am representing the property owner on this application, and it is the Addington Townhouse Subdivision preliminary plat modification. I have just a few slides for you. I'll give you just a brief history. Again, this is where the property is located. North of the Albertsons, between Center Street and Highbrook, and it is 5.58 acres. The property was annexed and zoned with the Albertson Center. It was part of the sample property that was annexed in 2017, and it is zoned. You can see the layout here. This was part of our master plan in 2017. The Land Group worked on that one as well. The property is zoned R7, and you can see it was part of this bigger 40.57 acre property. And this is how that fit in there on our master plan. Just to the north of that is the Ensley Court. So most of the properties that came in with that 41.5 acres have been processed and constructed. We still have the hard corner there of Highway 44 and Center Street. That is the commercial property that will be coming to you shortly. And here is the evolution. So what Sean was showing you was that top one. So it started out as triplexes with a couple of duplexes kind of in the, does this have, yeah, right. You can see like where in the curve areas, those didn't fit very well. So there were some duplexes there and then over at the entrance. Through that preliminary plat process, the site was modified a little bit with the cul-de-sac at the end. And that was the final. We were moving towards final plat and working on our construction drawings. And I hate to throw them totally under the bus, but the city does transmit to the irrigation district and the drainage district, and they did not comment on the applications through the preliminary plat process. So once we got into construction documents, then that's where they started working with us on exactly what their requirements were. We originally had lots going into their easement, and they wanted just a common lot over that. So we had to readjust our street in order to sit on top of the drainage district easements and the irrigation district easements. So that is mainly what happened, is the shift to the road to sit on top of that. And if you'd like, I'll just go through just a short list of exactly what changed if you want to hear that. So overall, the amended pre-plat is a reduction of 3 building lots. We were at 34, now we're at 31. What that did to the site is it changed the density from 6.09% to, I'm sorry, 6.09 units per acre to 5.51 units per acre. And then the usable open space changed from 21.15%, and it went up just a little over a percentage. So now we're at 22.22% on open space calculations. And that's usable. That doesn't count the road. That's another 2 acres just for roadway. The homes continued to be attached with the exception of one. And the homes went from, and actually, let me switch to this one. You can see those a little bit better. They went from triplexes to duplexes. So, and then we have one lot, that one right there at that corner. We weren't able, because of the way it pinches down, we weren't able to get 2 in there. So that one is just a 1 unit. And then the rest of them are duplexes. Sorry, I went too far. The original pre-plat was planned as 1 phase. The amended pre-plat is proposed as 2 phases. The western half of the subdivision, phase 1, will develop first, and it is retaining the front-loaded lots. The eastern half was revised to include an alley, and those lots are alley-loaded, so the garages will be in the rear, which we believe will be better ultimately anyway because of a commercial center back there. It'll give some buffer to that commercial center. The alley, we worked closely with the fire chief, and he signed off on the fire alley. Although we do want to point out that even though the cul-de-sac isn't there any longer, this will retain emergency vehicle access to Center Street. So only emergency vehicles and pedestrians will be able to go out onto Center. The rest will go through the site and exit to the west. And again, the irrigation district requires their easements to only be encumbered by common lots, and the original pre-plat had portions of the private lots that overlapped into the irrigation district easements. So that was why we needed to shift these lots. The western half was shifted north 12.5 feet, and the eastern half was shifted south 17 feet. The original pre-plat had some areas with detached sidewalks and some areas with attached sidewalks. We still have that with different areas have attached and detached, but they are primarily attached, and that is because of the edges of the easements. We were able to get street trees if we put it behind it. If we detach the sidewalk, we can't have street trees. So we can make it greener this way. Let's see. And then those 5-foot public sidewalks are on both sides of the private road, and that will link North Highbrook and Center Street so that there will be pedestrians can use that thoroughfare. And then some of the key items that remain the same is that the private roadway remains a 36-foot wide private roadway within a 50-foot easement, and that still allows street parking on the street. The eastern end of the private street will still have the emergency access connection to North Center Street. That was even with the cul-de-sac option that they did still have that emergency vehicle connection. The original pre-plat, let's see, had lots that were 27 feet wide to 32 feet wide, and our amended pre-plat has 31 and 32 foot. So some of the 27 footers are no longer there. They're bigger lots. And as with the original pre-plat, the utilities are available to support the project, and the preliminary utility design was included with the submittal, and we worked closely with both the irrigation and the drainage districts on those to minimize the crossings to the easements, the irrigation and drainage easements. And a homeowners association for this development will be responsible for all the landscape and irrigation maintenance. The pressurized irrigation is already constructed. That was constructed as part of the Albertsons and the Ensley Court. They're all working together with those. And then on the previous pre-plat, the stormwater was going to be a mixture of discharged into the drain 9 and permeable pavers, and the drainage district has agreed to take all of that drainage, and so that's changed. So there's no more permeable pavers on the project. And then just to give some examples of the home styles. So this is a mountain modern design, and then we have a prairie modern design. So those are the two, and my client has been the same for all of this from 2017 to 2022 and now. So it hasn't changed hands, but he is working with a home builder, and these are the designs that they've come up with.
You have them in duplex version?
They're working on them and they weren't finalized yet. So they just gave me representative photos of what they'll look like.
Look like they fit on that lot.
Okay.
And then we've read the staff report and we would agree with staff's analysis and recommended conditions of approval. And we respectfully request your approval tonight. And I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Tamara at this time?
Yeah.
Councilman Wheelock?
Can you go back a slide, please?
Yes.
Or two? Yeah, there you go, right there. See where the 30 and 30, lot 30 and 31, where it squeezes in there on the upper road on Jocelyn. There's that, looks like an irrigation box or something that makes the road pop out.
Makes the sidewalk,
The
yeah.
sidewalk
On the
is so-
sidewalk pop out a little bit, yes.
I've got concerns that that's a skinny area, that if people are parking anywhere on that 36-foot road even, you're going to have traffic and kids at risk if they're walking in that area. It would make sense to me to move that back, whatever it took to keep that road wider in the corner so that it's not a blind corner at the corner. It narrows down even worse.
Bear with me for a sec. I brought the drawing so I could look at exactly what that is. So that box is existing, and yeah, so that is, and so there is street parking, and so it will function actually almost like traffic calming, where you see these, and they just did it to my street in East Boise, where they bring out the roads, you know, for kind of a traffic calming area, but we can look closer at that.
If you have cars parking on this side with that traffic calming, there's going to be no room here for a safety zone, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I think probably the best would be to make that angled area. Maybe there's no parking in that area and that it's just on the two straightaways.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something Victor can take care of. Is it a private street? How do we address that?
Okay. We can talk about that more.
That's my
Any
concern.
further comments, questions? I do have a question though, Sean, real quick. I just want to make sure that we do have, I don't remember if we did this at that time in the development agreement. A private street maintenance fund.
Mr. Mayor, this application actually did not have it had a development agreement, but we did not modify it because it was already zoned R7. However, in the conditions of approval, they're required to do the maintenance agreement with.
So it's in we are requiring that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Would it behoove us to open that development agreement and add it to it?
It's a condition on the preliminary plat, so it's there. I don't know.
Okay.
Why would change?
All right. Okay, any further questions of the applicant? So I'm going to go back to what Councilman Wheelock was asking. Is there any way to move, what is that box? The irrigation box? Oh, Chief Victor.
Mayor and council, once you brought that up, Councilman Wheelock, I recall that in our original, when we first saw this, that did come up. It is a power box. They're not able to move that. And so I believe in my conditions, originally we said no parking on both sides of the street in that area. And it would be posted because it did create its own little knuckle to help with traffic calming, but it was addressed in the first preliminary plat. And so my notes had stated that any conditions would follow over as well to this one. So I would anticipate that they would have to mark both sides of that little area, no parking, to keep from that.
The same thing happens on this side.
Yeah, so there was two spots where there were electrical boxes that couldn't be moved, or I believe it was either electrical boxes or irrigation, and they were to be both sides of the street marked no parking because of it bottlenecked down.
Thank you.
Okay, so that answers my question then, Tamara, because you just answered it for me. Any other questions of Ms. Tamara right now? Nope, all right. John, do we have anybody?
Mr. Mayor, we do not.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, one point of clarification, just for the record. Tamara was stating that these were duplexes. Different jurisdictions define those in different ways. So just for clarification for the city of Star, we do not look at these as duplexes because the units are on individual lots. So we look at them more like townhomes. They're just together as two, but just want to point that out for the record. 0 lot line, 2 individually owned units, as opposed to a duplex, which is 2 units on 1 lot.
Okay.
So just a clarification.
Right. Anything further, Ms. Tamara?
No, Mr. Mayor, just to thank you for your time, and maybe I will clarify that they are, I'm calling them duplexes because there's 2 attached units where before they were 3 attached units, but they all do sit on their own lot. They just have a 0 lot line on one side, and then they won't be attached on the other side. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Okay. Hang on real quick, Ms.
I've
Tamara.
got one more question.
One more question.
Let's go to the elevations real quick. I know they're just representatives, but it looks like you would have a hard time putting any angle of that as a representation of a townhome that skinny, I guess. How do we look at those and get what we're trying to get as elevations?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Wheelock, I think that the staff report covers that really well with having the number of elements that have to be presented. But when they submit for permit, then staff will be able to review those at that time. But the staff report does have a lot of conditions on there as far as what kind of architectural elements are required.
Sean, you want to speak to that?
That is correct. Under your new Unified Development Code that we approved back in May, we did apply the new standards to this subdivision. So again, we look at these exhibits as concepts of the type of construction and the elements more so than the actual buildings themselves. I think this is the quality of what they're trying to represent. We understand that they're not going to look exactly like this because they're going to be attached. So they'll probably have driveways next to each other with garages next to each other for each unit.
Okay,
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
if I could just follow on to that, and maybe this can be guidance for future, but I'll just speak very plainly on this. Whenever I see applications come in with this type of representation of what's going to be built there, and I can clearly see that that's not what's going to be built here, it feels like a bait and switch. It makes me just want to deny it. And so I would rather just have nothing presented and just state that we don't have any representations, than see something that is not going to be built there. I think it represents to the public, it represents to the council something that's not going to take place. These are very beautiful. Perhaps there are some styles in architecture that could be, put into those townhomes. Hopefully they'll look nice. But again, there's nothing wrong. I'm just sharing how it makes me feel. And I'd rather not see it than have something that's not representative.
I 100% agree with that. It makes everybody feel like, oh, that's what we're going to look at when they get built. They don't look the same, whether they have the same elements or not.
Right. Okay. All right. Anything further?
No, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. If there's no further questions from staff, it's 8:07. I'm going to close the public hearing and we will go to council deliberations.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
So having said all that, I really appreciate Tamara, the thorough presentation, going through, walking us through, what it was, what's changed. Because it has been a couple of years since we've seen that. It looks like given the conditions you had to operate with, you've made some good choices in how to make this work within those conditions and maintain most of what we originally contemplated and agreed to. So having said that, I'm in support of the application to move ahead.
All right. Any further comments?
Mayor,
Motions?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, I too appreciate the effort that you put in by explaining the differences tonight. And it is interesting that we weren't, made aware of the irrigation issue like earlier until, this point. So, but it sounds like, you were able to adapt your plans, modify it. And I think what you have here tonight, is similar to what we were originally presented with. And, just had to make some tweaks to it. I did see though that I would like, if we do approve this, to add one condition, Sean noted in the staff report for a street light addition at the emergency entrance on the east side. So if that's all right with everyone, I would recommend that we include that condition. And then, Sean, if we in our motion, do we need to include anything about granting that waiver for the width? Because it was already included in the first one, do we need to include it tonight also?
Yeah, just make that as part of your motion. And I also have the no parking on the bottlenecked areas of the private street. We'll make that a condition as well.
Can I jump in here?
Yep.
I'm curious, how's that with the private street? How's the no parking get enforced?
I believe that's with the signage. Is that,
gonna be, it's an HOA.
And-
deal.
It's an HOA thing.
Oh.
Sorry, it's an
not a
HOA deal.
trespassing
It's not
thing.
a police, chief passing.
oh, because we did talk about that.
It's a private road.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other thing.
So then it would be up to the, the residents there, the HOA, to enforce that no parking.
Right.
Is there anything that the city that we can do to, I mean, maybe this is a question for Chris. I don't know.
I think you build them in your CCNRs, there's no parking tow-away zone, and then they just immediately just tow it away, and that's simple as that on their end.
Yeah, from the city side, it's not a city street
Right.
or an ACHD street, so you don't really have, any kind of local, it's not a city code issue. Like the mayor's point, they should have good CCNRs that identify where the no parking areas are. And then the HOA, they can do fines, they can tow. I mean, they can put whatever consequences that they want to on the CCNRs, and then they need to rely on their residents and their board to enforce those. So, I mean, as a city, you're going to put conditions on it, but just like any subdivision, it's kind of up to the HOA on how much they enforce those, going forward.
Okay? Any further comments or discussion? Councilman Hershey?
No, I've got nothing to add to that. Thanks.
Do we have a motion?
All right, Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
All right, I move that we approve the preliminary plat modification for Addington subdivision with the waiver to for the width to be 31 feet, no less than 31 feet, and plus the condition of the street light to be added on the east side of the development on the street over there where the bollards are. And also no parking signs to be put where those bottlenecks are.
No parking with tow-away.
No parking with tow-away sign.
So I'm gonna just clarify the 31 feet. Where is that?
What?
What's the 31 feet referencing?
The width,
The width of the lot.
the width of the lot.
I just want to clarify that so it
Yes.
doesn't come in as a street width.
Yeah, the width of the lot.
You're making my blood pressure go up.
Okay. Okay,
I think I got it.
John, did we get everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second by Councilman Nielsen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilman Hershey,
Hi.
Councilman Wheelock,
Nay.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Aye.
Councilman Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're at the end of our agenda. I just want to remind everybody, the State of the City is next Tuesday at 7 PM at Life Spring Church. If you're able to attend, I'd encourage you to attend. And with that, it is 8:13 and we are adjourned.